Morning. You should have the ORS report either electronically in the report folder. So the first table is the new accounts that have been created. So you can see that we continue to create new accounts. For ORS, providers continue to register. The month of November, we had a little bit less, but that is expected with the holidays and the earlier months, we do continue to see more, but in November, there were 551 new accounts that of people that registered for ORS. As far as the ICD-10 compliance, we still remain around 79.9%, but as I mentioned before, we are kind of still working on that, and we have some new strategies that we will be implementing this year to look at auditing and kind of working on improving that all around. We also did work we did do some education with some webinars that we worked on that I'll mention later on, but just to kind of promote the education surrounding the ICD-10 compliance and including that with the reporting of the prescription data. As we look at the accessing ORS using the integrated pharmacy management systems and by EHRs, you can see that overall we do have a highly integrated, we're in a highly integrated state, but there are still pockets in Ohio. We will be working, as I mentioned before, with the Ohio Department of Health through the Rural Health Transformation Grant, and that work will be kicking off pretty much this spring to improve those numbers throughout the state. So we hope to see improvement for that, but we do see, as you see, some of the areas in the state in the Northwest and the Southeast that we can kind of look for opportunities of improvement and definitely have some support with those funding. As we move more into the integration through, as of January 29th, we have 1,876 entities that are in production. Since the last report, we've had about 11 that have either requests that have been received or that the credentials have been sent. And then you look at the changes below, and you can see some of the changes that have been requests received that are in the dentist office, one pharmacy, and then in the physician's office. The request data was still processing during this at the time I did this report. But if you turn the page, well, we still have the not in production. You can look over that, and that just gives the reason. Before I get to the next page, I added a new table. But you can see that the not in production, but most of the not production are just that the credentials are set, or the credentials are sent, meaning that we're just waiting for that account to activate it, or the integration request is received, but the different reasons are listed there. But as I mentioned, the request data, so we usually present on the status of how many requests were received per month. That data was still processing when I did the report, so I did kind of add a summary of some of the new features that we added this past year. And so the one feature that we added the previous year was the non-fatal overdose indicator, and so that information is we receive from the emergency departments via ODH, and that first graph shows you that over the course of the year we've received 13,450 patient discharges from the Ohio hospitals that were sent via ODH, and you could kind of see the breakdown by age group. These are all for drug overdoses, and again, it's drug overdoses, so it encompasses the whole based on the diagnosis code. Again, this is the first year of reporting, so it will probably change over the time, but kind of this is the breakdown that we did see. And then the second chart is a breakdown and showing the MOUD alerts. So this was the alerts that the new feature that we enabled in ORS that sends notification to providers when there's a lapse in a potential lapse in the MOUD treatment for patients that may have a lapse in receiving their prescriptions for MOUD, and it sends a notification to the provider, and it also provides on the ORS report. And so for the first, since we activated in September through December 31st of 2025, there were more than 51,000 notifications that were sent to different providers that there was a potential lapse. So this was just kind of a report on some of those new features that we did add this past year. That is, oh, and then lastly, just to give you a status update, we are this year and compliance with our rules, we're updating to the ASAP 5, our reporting. And so last week, we did have several webinars on the new reporting rules in the format, and we had quite a well-attended attendance. We had over 440 attendees that were registered for an overview of the new requirements for the ASAP, and those are the reporting guidelines for all the pharmacies and the data submission. During that time, we also took the opportunity to provide education on both provider authorization, and then we did hit on some different data quality points, specifically looking at ICD-10, and kind of gave an overview of the requirements to the pharmacies and what is expected as far as what the reporting goes. So does anyone have any questions for me?
I do have a question, and I'm just curious. On the pharmacy integration map, I don't remember ever seeing a county with 0. Did we lose like the only pharmacy that was integrated? Do you know? I know I've seen the 33 and stuff in the Southeast Ohio area. I just saw a 0, and I don't remember ever seeing a 0 for a whole county.
Yeah, I could and that could just be, again, it could just be one pharmacy that may have dropped out, or it could be, the numerator versus denominator. So we do see kind of changes, but I'll look into that and see.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch that before I put the report out, but yeah, I'll look into that to see if we had a pharmacy that for some reason is not, if there's something systematic that is going on. But that's definitely what we're trying to kind of follow up with, to see if there's not only, we've had integration for so many years, but we want to make sure that there haven't been changes once the pharmacies have gotten integration, that they still need support, or that there's been changes with their systems that, that there's something else that we're missing.
Thanks.
And one of the things, a reason for not integrating 7 years ago may no longer exist, and that's what we're following up on. And formerly integrated pharmacies that no longer are, find out what caused that.
Right. Part of the work that we'll be doing with ODH will include doing a needs assessment. So I hope to gather some information on that to help us strategically work and understand what the barriers are, but also what we could, how we could be supportive to making sure that we are making the right decisions and working with them and implementing the correct strategies.
Griffin.
Good morning. So as a reminder, my numbers are from December. And so as of the end of December, we had 589 open cases. We'd received 128 complaints during the month of December. We had 40 self-initiated complaints that our field staff initiated from the field. Additionally, we referred 39 cases to legal to keep Sharon's group busy. So additionally, we also had 2 criminal convictions, 1 treatment in lieu, 1 criminal indictment, and we executed 4 search warrants. and had 2 summary suspensions in the month of December. As our inspection numbers, we had 377 completed inspections with 138 written warnings issued. In reference to our search warrants, we participated in 1 search warrant in Southeast Ohio at a prescriber clinic for overprescribing opioids, and then 3 search warrants were for unlicensed locations, which were sports nutrition and health supplement retailer, where we located for sale unapproved peptides at all 3 locations. Additionally, from a staffing perspective, we had our new compliance specialist start, Christina Greenwald, and she has begun her 14-week orientation period. So you will see her here at one of the future board meetings to observe an entire board meeting and introduce herself also to you all. So does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Martin Moore.
I do not have anything.
Good morning. The license counts for this month are on the first page of the executive director report. I have a couple of things to comment on regarding those. The registered technician renewal opened on Friday, so at the time of this report, I didn't have an update. We've had a few hundred already renew, about 3% of the overall. The licensing department sent lots of communication and somewhat targeted to the technicians, trying to make it simple, of those that need to earn CE and report CE versus those that do not. We even are targeting those registered technicians where through our integration with NABP, we cannot identify or match the technician that they have a CPE or an e-profile connect number where they would report their CE. So if they don't have that number, they cannot comply with our rules and most likely cannot fully comply with our rules to earn CE. So we're trying to really target that group because it's an easily identifiable group. It ebbs and flows, but it's less than 1,000, more than 500. So we also are underway with the pharmacist CE audit. I hope we're at the point now where we have the data back from NABP. We've analyzed it, and we're going to start going through and sending out notices to pharmacists so that if for some reason they didn't toggle that, and I think in pharmacist letter right on to share it to CPE monitor, or they had a certificate, just didn't get uploaded, something or other, that they'll provide that to us and see where the remediation is. I'd like to share preliminary findings with the board at the next meeting while we're still in that information, allowing them to give us the certificates. And we'll be talking yet later this morning during some of my presentation about the UMPJE, or the Uniform Jurisprudence Examination Implementation. So be happy to answer any questions if you all have any. I would like to if there are no questions. And I'll try to give you a little bit more time. If you don't see a document in a folder, feel free to refresh. I was making some updates right before I came in. The first item, I'll try to follow the agenda, Mr. President, is an examination score request from Lindsay Kessler. Ms. Kessler, I'll say at the top, this is a formal adoption into the minutes pursuant to the board's resolution. President Houston already approved this licensee's request, or this applicant's request. Ms. Kessler took and passed the MPJE and the NAPLEX. The NAPLEX was on her 3rd attempt. There is a rule referenced at the bottom of the cover sheet that requires all attempts to be within a 12-month period in order to keep that first passing score valid. Unfortunately, her 2nd and 3rd attempts were about 15 months apart. Based on some other approvals that the board has made, President Houston approved to waive that portion of the rule and accept her score and issue her license. So this is just asking for a formal motion to adopt it into the minutes of the board.
I'll make the motion to open.
There were lots of hands. I'll go with you.
All right, go in a second. Discussion. All those in favor? 6.
Okay, the next request we have is a pharmacy intern extension or renewal request. This has not been considered already by President Houston, so this is a first initial consideration. And it's a bit different than what you've normally seen, or it's not one that the board has weighed in on yet, or one of its kind. Mr. Mastery is a foreign graduate. He obtained his FPGEC in December of 2018 and became licensed in Ohio as a foreign grad in December of that same year. He has the board's rules permit that any foreign graduate is eligible to renew their license one time. Regularly, foreign grads, either because they are still trying to find work or earn the required 1,740 internship hours, regularly request a second attempt or a second renewal to have more time to complete that. Mr. Mastery has been granted by the board essentially 4 years in total from a request in 2021 and then a subsequent request in 2023. He has earned the required hours he needs. He had applied with us as a pharmacist exam candidate. He never has attempted the exams, and I'll let his personal narrative that's attached to the request explain some of his personal circumstances that are involved and why he's requesting additional time after. I have some more to add after, but I'd like you to review his narrative there. So the board rules do permit the board to approve additional renewals or extensions. In licensing, as we looked at this, we said, oh, I don't know. He's already been granted that second attempt. He doesn't have an exam application again with us. He doesn't have one exam taken and under his belt. So it wouldn't even be like a short ask, which would be similar to what we did in October with a different foreign grad. He wants to come back and work in Ohio. We analyzed in licensing, could we issue him a technician registration? Unfortunately, he would have to start as a trainee. Our approved training program allowances are do include a PharmD degree, obtaining a PharmD degree. He doesn't have a PharmD. He's a foreign graduate. I think certainly the board could make a resolution in that matter and accept the FPGEC in this case. I think that potentially opens the door to the board receiving a lot more requests in that manner that I don't know we would want to entertain on a regular basis. So the rules do permit you to consider additional renewals and grant them. That's about all that I have, unless I can try to answer some questions.
Where are your personal thoughts?
Um, well, to be honest, until I started prepping this morning, I thought this was a second. So it was an easy, oh, yep, of course, such a tragic experience, life experience that he's had to go through. But I think I would probably tie, I don't know, it's a chicken or an egg. I would, in this case, I'd give him 2 more years. I don't know that it will be enough. But I would say I was leaning towards, oh, tie it to registering as a pharmacist, scheduling those exams. He doesn't have to be in Ohio to do that. But he might need money to be able to do those activities. Why would he move back to Ohio unless he has a license and can get a job? I think those are the kinds of things that I would be considering. And without a lot of those answers or knowing that there are too many dependencies, personally, I would err on giving him another 2 years. But that maybe I'm soft.
Mr. President, you read his testimony, it sounds like it's in the best interests of his kid. I don't think he poses a risk to the state. I'm strongly in favor of giving him another 2 years.
Second. George, any discussions? Those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you. I do have a discussion item on the agenda. I do not have enough information at this time to present fully to the board or to discuss. I will mention that in light of a lot of inspections that Mr. Griffin just reported on, specifically in the med spa space, we are encountering a lot of what appear to be brokers operating in the state. And so they're involved in and coordinating the sale, right? Connecting the buyer and the seller together. We are still analyzing this at the board of what meets the definitions, what doesn't. But we do have some applicants who are brokers who are saying, sure, we'll get licensed in your state. However, we're at this crux kind of where I'll be headed to next with the investigational drugs, where we require we're on the maybe forefront of requiring licensure, where maybe some other home states do not require licensure. In those instances, we rely on an ABP to do the drug distributor accreditation review, formerly known as VOD. In the broker space, they feel like those operations cannot meet the requirements in order to do a drug distributor accreditation review. And so it's this, again, it's just a gap, and we want them to be licensed, but how can they satisfy some requirements to make us feel comfortable? They're not down the street, on Broad Street. We can't just walk in their door. Who has some oversight? And so we have a particular licensee that has presented to us an inspection from the National Coalition for Drug Quality and Security, the NCDQS, to see if the board would entertain accepting that. We need to gather some more information, but that you all are prepared when we bring that, hopefully next month, that you will know what we're talking about a little bit there in the kind of position that we're in, the tug and pull. Then I'll move on to my last 2 items, which are both resolutions. The first is a board resolution related to the distribution of investigational new drugs and products into Ohio. The board previously required or passed a resolution requiring a full licensure for distribution by February 4th, which is in a couple days. Of course, now that the deadline is imminent, we are being contacted by a handful, it's not a lot, of licensees and distributors of new investigational drugs. They're saying, we weren't aware of the product, of the requirement. So if the board would like to I see a path of we stop, we either say February 4th is our deadline. Here you go. You can't distribute any further distribution is unlawful. I think Miss Way behind me who knows a little bit more about the types of drugs. These are mostly clinical trials. Sometimes patients are needing them to not have any separation of treatment. That's not the word I was looking for, but you know what I mean. Um, and so understanding that or assuming that is what most of these products are. I have drafted this resolution if the board is entertained to adopt it, that would permit the licensing department to basically grant further distribution once an applicant has applied, and the only thing remaining are the BCI and FBI criminal records checks results of their officers and or owners. This is a similar but better path to what we did during some of our COVID waivers in 2020 and 2021. I'll leave that at that. It's similar but better in terms of management in the licensing department and their, and subsequent follow-up.
Specifically based on this resolution, who specifically has the authority to grant this?
To grant the authority, to issue the letter. Sharon?
Well, I would read it as it's kind of automatic. If they have submitted their license application, the only thing remaining is the BCI, then they would receive notice that they can continue to operate. So it's not really a discretionary action.
The board is setting requirements similar to in rule by which the licensing department would follow. When those requirements have been met, we send notice. Thank you.
Sway, do you have any concerns with this?
No, probably some more information, as our folks in Ohio are getting their word out to their supplier and their sponsors, and those folks have reached out to us. And it's quite surprising that there are actually a lot of from out of country, from such as European countries who are providing these investigational drugs. And so that lies another aspect because federally they are not required to be registered or to be licensed. And so I think this comes as a surprise where they have been doing this for so long and then they're like, hey, you need to license. So they are also into the process of securing their officers, getting the background checks that's needed when it hasn't before. And we do not want to disrupt these clinical trials. I did check the, from those that reach out to us, I did check the clinical trials. They are legitimate clinical trials that's registered within the United States Registry. So again, we don't want to disrupt. As you all know, here in Ohio, we have quite a few of children's hospital as well as clinical research and academia institutions that are participating in a lot of clinical trials. Yeah, we want to make sure that we don't prevent patient access while we're going through the licensing process.
So when it says may continue, we kind of just left it as an open door kind of thing because we're not sure how long that process is going to take.
Correct. Yeah. And some of when we get presented with these, I unfortunately been around the block here with these one too many times. We did discuss as a staff, just push it. And I said, we've been here before. That deadline will come and there will still be an applicant with a foreign officer who's waiting and
Some weird catch.
yeah, and that's why there's a lot of that second paragraph is present so that if we would abandon, if we want to rescind that approval, even if it's targeted, we would be able to do that. Yeah, generally we do not abandoned drug distributor broadly, not just investigational drugs, for lack of attempting to get their background checks. Yeah, it's just they normally can provide documentation to us when we ask, which is their good faith effort, and we keep that application open because it's not, so long as they have that documentation, it's out of our hands, it's out of theirs. It's really up to BCI at that point, unfortunately.
Clinical trials for more than 2 decades. I understand many of the suppliers were from England and Germany and around the world, India. So I see the hurdles that they have. I see this still protects all our concerns as well. I don't see a problem with it as written. Does anybody else? You need a formal motion on this?
We do.
Can't make the motion, can sign it.
Mr. President?
Mr. Graham, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Weston, any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0.
Okay, my last item for today, I'd first like to direct the board to review or open the UMPJE timeline document, and I'll briefly discuss kind of implementation. This is my linear brain, the easier way to describe it. So as the board is well aware, we've been working towards implementing with NABP the UMPJE, and it is finally here for the 2026 class. NABP has developed a pre-exam or a practice test, which is already live. It's similar to the practice MPJE exam at this point. At the current state where we stand right now in February, March of this year, the schools are to be identifying the students, their graduates, who would like to take the exam early. So not only are we getting the UMPJE, but we're also getting students the opportunity to take the exam early prior to graduation. This first class has kind of a narrow early window, but you'll see how that impacts the 2027 graduates differently. Schools will communicate that roster directly to NABP. And NABP will handle all requests for that UMPJE. So the board staff are not involved in that at all. Along with this, NABP has modified their transcript requirements a little bit to benefit the early UMPJE and early MPJE program as a whole, but also then to help get those approvals for their authorization to test in their hand, so they can go ahead and schedule where they don't have to wait for the school to get that full transcript into NABP system before allowing the applicant to schedule. Excuse me. Students can take their exam in April. They can register as early as March. April 1st are the first examination dates when that will go live at the Pearson VUE testing centers, and they can be scheduling those up through graduation. They will interact with us at their normal time in about April or May, where they apply with us, let us know which MPJE exam they are taking. I should have said that earlier. This 2026 class will get to have the option to take the Ohio MPJE or the UMPJE. I think I am safe to report, though, that I heard all Ohio schools are recommending their students take the UMPJE. For whatever that is worth.
Worth a lot to me.
Yes. Yeah.
It was a journey getting there, but I'm grateful, and I think the schools are making the right choice, and
Yes.
appreciate working with them.
Yeah. The board staff will still approve for the NAPLEX after the student graduates. That process has worked seamlessly. Now we'll just have one exam or the Ohio MPJE to approve. A student cannot take the Ohio MPJE early. It's just the UMPJE. We will allow that Ohio MPJE to remain available even for reciprocity candidates who need an MPJE. They could take either or until or through an examination date of September 30th. Starting October 1st, NABP will basically shut down and pull out the Ohio MPJE from the testing centers from being able to be registered for whatnot. Any additional Ohio MPJE registrations that will be open at that time would be closed out. So we are communicating to all applicants at this point, okay, you have a choice, but if you're going to register for the Ohio MPJE, don't register for it beyond September. You're not going to be able to use that as an acceptable score. You see that there's the second column for 2027 graduates. So while the 2026 grads are working through, the schools will already be talking to the 2027 grads, as their early option will start as early as the fall of 2026. So they'll be able to take that a whole year potentially early prior to graduation. And I say year, not calendar, but more so academic, maybe half of an academic year early. So all the UMPJE cost is greater than the Ohio MPJE, and that is an NABP decision. Obviously, it can be used more widely or potentially for more states than just a single state, and they will accept score transfers. Students are only 2026, 27, until NABP changes its guidance, only allowed to have one early attempt at the UMPJE. And all attempts are similar when it comes to the MPJE exam, where it's a max of 5, and there's standard waiting periods in between re-examination attempts. So with that information, does anyone have any questions about the UMPJE? I guess I should tell you, we have 5 states confirmed, which Ohio is one of. There's a couple of others in the works to soon adopt the UMPJE this year. Some of it's a timing issue of how quickly NABP could get those states onboarded. So we anticipate, or there's already talk that there will be quite a few more come 2027.
I was just curious from the non-pharmacy perspective. What is the ultimate goal here? Why such a change?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Yep.
Once upon a time, it actually, Ohio drove this. Ohio brought the resolution to NABP 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And it literally emanated, I got a call during COVID lockdown, shutdown from Jeff.
So Jeff wrote it.
Just, I think, wanting to discuss the results and the like, and expressing concern, I immediately called Jenny, who at that point, I don't think had any involvement with the exam yet. The MPJE, the Ohio specific exam.
Sure.
And we got talking, Jenny got looking into it, and ultimately, I think we concluded that in reality, the similarities between the states far outweighed the differences in state laws. And there were states dropping out of, doing away with any exam, any law exam, which we as a staff vehemently opposed, which this board at the time vehemently opposed. There were states dropping out because they could not maintain the validity of their tests in spite of the immense support that NABP was providing. So we started looking at it internally, had some discussion internally with the board, presented it to NABP. NABP as a staff ultimately embraced it. Then the executive committee embraced it, and it just keeps moving. And I think from my perspective as the other non-pharmacist in the room, we firmly believe that there is so much law involved in the practice of pharmacy that teaching that and testing that is critical. And based on some discussions we've had not too long ago, seems rather clear that the teaching is trying to teach the test, not the law, and we think the school should get away with that, or away from that. And the portability of licensure is key. These interstate compacts are popular. What we have in pharmacy in Ohio predates compacts, and from my perspective, is superior. When you have interstate compacts, you have universal violations, but how do you have that when one state says you can't do this and another one says you can, and on and on. So we think that addresses the ability of the states to maintain a valid test. It addresses interstate transfer of licensure, and that's kind of where it is.
That's extremely helpful.
Yeah, you're welcome. And much credit to Jenny here, who's put in the time on the UMPJE steering committee and a content review, who, we put our resources, to that as kind of our support to get it to where it is now, which is, according to them, very quick to create a new exam and implement it in that short period of time. So now turning the board's attention to the resolution, you have rules. We amended our rules to be able to recognize another exam for the jurisprudence exam besides the multi-state pharmacy jurisprudence exam. We would like to formally, or the board needs to formally recognize the uniform multi-state pharmacy jurisprudence exam, the UMPJE. Additionally, there are what we were just talking about with those scores and the validity of our first request. We just need to recognize when the cutoff period will be. And again, it is specific to examination dates. So if they have passed the Ohio MPJE prior to October 1st, 2026, that and all of their other scores remain valid, we will still be able to issue their license. There's not going to be any re-examining just because they didn't have the right exam at the right time if they abide by or follow that parameter. It's a little bit complex, and I appreciate Mr. Houston looking at this resolution. Should note, he already approved this resolution, so we're looking for formal adoption into the minutes. He approved it prior to this meeting so that we could start talking about it and communicating about it. So I'm glad I thought of that. So thank you. I'm happy to still entertain any questions, but.
You clarify what currently a student can take an exam once and once only early. Is that right?
Correct. Well,
and there are discussions to make it so it's more or not. You said that they could
only one attempt.
Only one attempt early.
As
on regular time.
Reporting or recalling back what NABP shared during the District 4 meeting in September at Fort Wayne, At this time, it is one attempt. I think they indicated they would be open to potentially talking about more attempts. There are a lot of things I have some respect for NABP because there are a lot of things moving at once. So they did that early MPJE program, which was very manual. And that's why I believe they have changed some of their transcript requirements to make their system more automated to permit that. And there are many states who are not adopting the UMPJE, but are moving into the early state-specific MPJE exam opportunity also. And they're implementing UMPJE. So I think if we let both of those two things mature, get implemented and mature, that discussion might change a little bit. I think one attempt was
Exam integrity.
as much as exam integrity is what they often refer to, but it was also a very manual process where there was communication from the school and someone manually at NABP allowing that exam request to be submitted. Yeah.
I was just curious their thought process on it. I see maybe a longer time between them
Mm-hmm.
versus
Yeah.
one student, but
Yeah.
I was just curious their thought process.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So you need a motion?
Need a motion.
you.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Do I have a second? Rich.
And with that, I conclude my what?
Well, we haven't got it.
Oh, sorry.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0.
Now,
Okay, now with that concludes my items for this month. Thank you.
Your whole report.
You have met the new executive coordinator, and I think I have a couple of staffing issues that would be appropriate for executive session.
Thank you. Anybody need I had a look over here, so we're taking a 5-minute bathroom break.
Yeah, you're gonna need this all.
I'm still over here looking for that other thing. Did they even talk about it yet?
Not yet.
They're going on a bathroom break. I'm gonna go on bathroom break too.
Go for it. I'm like, well, you gotta go, right? But yeah, I don't know what they were talking about. I think the next part is on the agenda is rules, and I think that's our part. But they were going over like the resolution.
Okay, I'm gonna go pee.
Okay. They took forever to start this part. I guess the closed session part of this or whatever they had before ran quite a bit. Hey there. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I think it's because like we've been out of school all week because we got like iced in. And so I'm not on my regular schedule waking up at like 5:30 in the morning. So I'm just like sluggish. I really felt like I started this too soon, but I was like, I didn't want to miss it. Yeah, but it sounded like they were almost talking like another language, like all the abbreviations and stuff they were using. But I mean, it should be this next part coming up should be our part. I'm not really sure what all it's going to entail, but I guess we'll find out. I agree. They need to get to our part. Yeah. Well, I kept kind of waiting for them to kind of get to something that sounded like it was on the right track, but then I looked at the agenda. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Poor guy. I guess he had to go to the bathroom. I totally understand. Yeah, our part should be next. It's like a few, I guess it's called the rules part. And there's some kind of, there's like there's 5 different items on the rules part, but we're number 4 on it. So I don't know if they'll do them like separately or kind of all together. Yeah, we'll ask him. It's okay. You're not spammy. Yeah, we'll ask. Dude, sometimes I need people to be reminding me of stuff though, because I got too much on my mind. I don't remember my own name sometimes. Yeah. Oh, just do our part real quick and then you can go to the bathroom. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, that's how it goes. Usually we don't go live until it gets to that part, but I wasn't sure. And so I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and go live so we don't miss it.
What's up, Drew and Tracy? And super fun quiz, wildflower candles.
Yeah, I was telling Drew, because he said listening to an hour plus meeting for a few minutes about our leave. I'm like, yeah, usually I don't go live, but I did get a little bit excited this morning.
Yeah.
It's like early, and I was just like, I didn't even say I was going live. I just went live.
What y'all are witnessing is what we do behind the scenes. Y'all just get the edited stuff whenever you see me post up. We
Dude,
will sit
California's
for
bad.
hours.
Like every time we have a California one, I'm like, oh God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was saying that dude must have had to go potty pretty bad.
True. Yeah, it's not easy watching these hearings because, good God.
Yeah.
I know stuff about other people's cities and states that they don't even know.
We've learned about like sewers and roads and
Windows.
hauling rocks and gravel because of I guess a housing thing. That was a long one.
Trash and
Yeah.
recycle.
Yeah.
Land development.
We never get like, you always see like the exciting things on the news, like people showing up and they're like, crazy. Did you see that Batman dude?
I did.
And I'm like, why couldn't that be so? Like, why do we always, like, why do they not show up at ours?
And that other dude that did his little break dance.
Yeah. Like, man, that would have made my day.
I know.
Tiki Talk.
You commented your state? Oh, okay. On my post that I have about states. I haven't went and looked at TikTok yet. I'm busy trying to find something else.
Hopefully, you'll find it. Wow, I can't believe. I was saying there's like 5 different items in this next bar. I think we're number 4. I hope they kind of go over them together. I don't even know what this is actually going to be about. Oh, here we go, I think. Well, it moved. I thought, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
It is 11:33 and we are back on the record. This way, I understand you have some resolutions and rules for the board to consider.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President and board members. I am here to present you with some of the rules for this month. These documents can be found in the SharePoint under the rules and resolution. I have also provided you a copy of the proposed rules and new rules that we're going to discuss today. I'm going to turn to your attention to the first page, which is a change to a citation on the metrageny related compounds during the emergency rule. So there was an incorrect citation that we replaced on page 13 with the following correction. So this document needs to be updated to correct that incorrect citation. I'm just going to do it individually and get your approval because there's that way that we don't get them all jammed up and confused. So any questions regarding to this change for citation in our emergency rule?
Motion for each one. Okay. A motion to update Mr. Bittner and Mr. Whiston, first and second. Any discussion? Those in favor? 6-0.
Okay, the next one I'm going to on page 2. This is on Rule 4729-4101 regarding to some definitions. Turn your attention to paragraph F, which is highlighted here. This is just a change to update a definition of hemp products to refer to the definition of hemp in the actual ORC. And the current cross-reference has been repealed in statute. So that is letter F, as well as, yes, that's in letter F, I'm sorry. And then if you turn page 4 and letter O, we just changed the date. We had to update the date to reflect the latest version of the DSM-5 criteria with the new incorporation by reference date. Since we always, when we have references, we incorporate the date to make sure that, so people know which version it is. This is just an update to tell them this is the version. Any question with 4101? I need your approval for filing with JCAR.
Mr. Bittner,
Move to accept.
second.
Okay.
Favor? Discussion. Those in favor? 6-0.
Social will fly by very fast. On page 6, 4729-8302, information required for submission. This is our ORS rule. And you can see that we struck out number 16 and 17. So it just removes 2 required ASAP reporting fields. After the review by the ORS team, it was determined that these fields cannot be accurately captured and reported by the pharmacies under the current outpatient record keeping rule because we do not require that in the outpatient record keeping rules. So hence we're going to not require 16 for the owner's date of birth for veterinarian patients or owner's gender for veterinarian patients.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0.
Okay, so this is the next pack of rules from page 7 to 19. As you may recall, this is the rule for responsible person of a TDDD. At the request of the CSI, we had engaged in conversations with several institution facilities that had raised concerns about, their operation concerns about responsible person, especially when they have different facilities and prescriber clinics under that institution facilities. So after discussion of with the several of these facilities, it is recommended to add some additional flexibility, especially regarding to satellite pharmacies like in a hospital campus and remote hospital-owned clinics. So I'm going to go towards the changes on page 11. What we have added here is that for a facility, this is regarding to pharmacy, and the pharmacist serving as the responsible person, they have to comply with one of the followings. And this, as you may recall, this is where they have to work 40 or more hours, or that a minimum of 50% of the total hours. What we have added here is really for institution facility, where the RP can conduct an on-site in-person visit of the pharmacy where they serve as a responsible person on a quarterly basis. And we also put in here, we have also discussions from facilities asking, what should we do in these visits? Whatever we should be looking for. So we actually added that in letter G, which we'll go through here in a little bit. The pharmacy shall be owned and operated by institution facility and shall be located in the campus or directly adjacent to the campus of institution facility. So this, especially with hospitals that operates in what we typically talk about campuses, that they can have, say, another outpatient pharmacy on that campus or even adjacent building too. In the past, the campus is always about congruent plot of land, but as we have seen, some of the facilities have expanded where they could be, across the street and adjacent to the campus. And so we have added that where the RP in those campus facilities can be an RP for another TDDD on that campus. And so that's what letter C is, that they can conduct an on-site inspection. Any question with letter C? Okay. And all these other ones you approved, so I'm going to turn your attention to page 16. So on page 16, number 3, this is regarding to EMS organizations. And we have added here where the responsible person conducts an on-site in-person visit that they serve on a quarterly basis. Again, this is added there, was there previously, but we're spelling out that you had to comply with letter G, which is the content of that inspection, so that they know, be consistent of what they are inspecting in those visits. And then in F2, this section here applies to TDDD. Where they can do an on-site inspection, though, so that has always been a requirement. Again, they can conduct an on-site in-person visit on a quarterly basis, pursuant to requirements in paragraph G of this rule. And then number 3 here, we added that the terminal distributor owned and operated by institution facility can conduct an on-site in-person visit of the terminal by a pharmacist employed by the institution on a quarterly basis. So these are the ones where in institution facilities, oftentimes they have a compliance team, or the pharmacy is the one that manages, even in those facilities, say an FSED, like a freestanding ED, or a different clinic. They have a pharmacy program. So only in the institution facility where we allow that delegation of a on-site inspection to their pharmacy staff if they choose to do so. Okay. We have had numerous conversations that they feel in those instances pharmacy does a better job than relying on the prescriber clinic. I mean, on the prescriber, who may not always be there because they rotate through their schedule. Okay. And so that is number 3. So letter G, as I stated before, we have requests to spell out what should be done on those when they conduct an inspection. So in here, letter G, an on-site quarterly in-person visit shall consist of the following. We want to make sure that they have a process to review and document compliance with the following requirements of applicable: the drug security, including possible diversion of dangerous drugs, drug purchases and sales, C, compounding in accordance with the rules, D, record keeping, E, temperature monitoring, F, storage and disposal of adulterated drugs or expired drugs, and letter G, which is all the applicable rules. They're based upon our operation of TDDD. Okay. And then number 2 here, so except in G3, in-person visits shall be documented by the responsible person. So again, the G3 is or if it's done by the pharmacist. So here in this section, we wanted to make sure that besides a doing an inspection, we want to make sure that RP is reviewing those inspection reports and then providing any changes and correction that's needed. So I know it's kind of arbitrary when we have to spell it out, but oftentimes what we've seen is that, oh, here's an inspection report, and then the RP may be like, well, okay, I just read it. And then we want to make sure that if there are non-compliances, that they need to correct those non-compliances. And that's what the number 3 is. Number 4, all documentation required by this paragraph shall be maintained for 3 years from the date of visits and be made available immediately on-site inspection if they're on-site inspection if if we require that during the inspection. And then 5 is that a terminal distributor TDDD shall develop and implement a policy that requires the correction of any violation identified as part of the on-site in-person visit. Any questions with that section?
Probably a silly question. I know my definition of quarterly basis, but what is the rule definition of quarterly basis?
Oh, we expect just once every 3 months in that quarter, so we can do that.
Like,
Quarter of the
that's
calendar.
exactly that. Is there a window or, quarterly be, exactly 4 times a year period, but what's the grace? I guess I'm curious if we're asked.
I don't think there technically would be a grace. I mean, it would be like anything else.
Exactly on the nose every 90.3 days or whatever else.
But within that.
Okay, within the window. Okay.
Yeah.
So if one was 89, one was 91, no one would rate this.
Correct.
Over it.
Once whatever that quarter
Okay.
is. So time
I
frame.
was curious. That defined as quarterly, which is a term interpretation. So
And I would say it's like any other rule that, the board, we might have non-strict compliance with a rule. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to turn into a site.
No. Look at a 10 too. We tried, but that person was sent to the hospital with appendicitis. They did it the next day. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. I was just curious.
I just had on what was it, 2, where it said except as provided in paragraph G3, this rule, all on-site in-person visits shall be documented by the responsible person. But the responsible person is the one that has to do it.
Correct.
Just seems
In those areas, except in G3, which is the institution where they can delegate the pharmacist to do. We have concern about delegation, but of course the concern is, what we have seen in many of the TDDDs, once you delegate, the RP person is out of the picture. So we made it very explicitly that has to be done by the RP, except for those that are in the institution facilities that can be done by the pharmacist. And then letter G on page 19, we just define what campus is and including what the directly adjacent means. And that rule that reflects for the institution. Okay. Any questions for me with that block for RP rules?
Motion. A second.
This is for filing with CSI and JCAR.
Any discussion? Those in favor? 6-0.
Okay, if I can turn your attention to page 21. This is a new rule. This is 5325, which is the electronic product verification, or oftentimes you may have heard we used to discuss as this virtual verification. Try to just title similarly to our other rules here. So this is a new rule, so I will go over that individually here. We have put out the rules and sent out for comments, public comments, and we have received those comments and incorporated into this rule for your review today. Okay. So A1, it's just the definition of electronic product verification. It means a non-physical dispensation, oftentimes what we call final check of a drug by a pharmacist using the I'll call it electronic verification, EVS for short, in the future, to verify the accuracy of the final contents or components in accordance with this paragraph F of this rule. Here we said that electronic EVS, I'm sorry, my apologies here, does not include the following here. We wanted to make sure that it does not include the remote dispensing rule, which is the telepharmacy. They have their own rules in the section of itself. Letter B, remote outpatient prescription processing. Letter C, the practice of remote medication order processing. D, it does not include the practice of personally furnishing by a prescriber. And E, the dispensation of a drug or device from an automated pharmacy system. Because all of those sections have their own sections, and so this is really finite regarding to product verification that we're talking about. Okay? And so that is number one. Number two here, we have said in what the EVS system means, a system that complies with the requirements set forth in this rule. B, for a pharmacist to engage in the remote prescription, this would be, I just realized we need a change. It should be engage in the EVS, the electronic product verification. Many of these rules we did adapt from actually the remote prescription dispensing rule, because as you recall, when we had those rules, we do understand that virtual verification is going to be a part of it, and how we had to look at technology because the pharmacist is not there. So we adapt some of those language. So in letter B, I will need to change that for a pharmacist to engage in electronic product verification. Pharmacists shall, 1, be licensed as a pharmacist in the state. 2, physically practice in the pharmacy licensed as a TDD that is located in the state where the electronic product verification is being conducted. This is important. As you can see, we have highlighted and bolded in black. Previously, we just said that the pharmacist had to be licensed in the state here, and that TD to be located. But with the comments that we have received, there are concerns about pharmacists not having the actual product if something happens, and we feel that it is a concern. So we did change it and add that the pharmacists have to be physically located where that drug product is located in order for them to do that. So they can't do this remotely in the sense of, let me go from another TDD and then do a product verification for another TDD, say, it could be 15 or 20 miles away or somewhere else. And 3, the pharmacist had to complete the required training competency evaluations in paragraph G. In number 4, the next page on page 22, that the pharmacist is a current or contracted employee of the pharmacy operating electronic verification system. We here have added the contracted employees. From our comments, folks said that oftentimes that they may be a different branch or it can be a contract service, so we added contracted there. In C, electronic verification systems shall allow the pharmacist to see an exact, clear, and unobstructed visual images of the drugs or devices dispensed and the label affixed to the container. As you can see, we have made some changes in the language here because it was too narrow. At first we had put in their fill prescription medication order. That excludes some of the automation that can be done, say like reconstitutions and others that could be done in this aspect. So we just put in a little bit broad where basically is that they have to have a clear image of the drug product. Okay. The system shall at minimum have high definition image resolutions with variable viewing options to accurately and safely dispense a dangerous drug or drug device, and sufficient data retention capabilities to investigate any quality related events. C1, the system shall use barcoding technology to ensure the accuracy of prescriptions or orders verified in accordance to this rule. Barcodes shall be scanned and not manually typed into the system. The board may waive or modify the barcode technology requirements listed in this paragraph if the EVS system can provide an alternative method to ensure the accuracy of prescriptions or order dispensed in accordance with this. So we want to have some allowance for technology in place. They should be using barcode scan, but we also understand at times barcode scanning may not work. If they have other systems in place that they can do, like manually enter, or that they have a operating system that already have this information, then we allow that. C2, the system shall produce images that are high definition with image resolutions of at least 300 pixels per inch and in full color. You can see we added in full color. This should be, we left that out accidentally. 3, if multiple units are being dispensed, the pharmacist must be able to see and verify an image or images of each unit and each individual affixed label. C4, the images shall contain the following to ensure the pharmacist is able to appropriately verify the prescription prior to dispensing. 4A, the images shall include a clear image of the prescription label affixed to the medication or device, the full quantity of the filled prescription. Letter C, except in paragraph C5 of this rule, the medication stock bottle or container and label of the drug that has been returned to stock. So this is really just going back to the return to stock. We understand that some places in the return to stock, they already put their own label in there. So you got to make sure that you have that image of that label. And that label had to be in accordance with 5522 for restock. Letter D, clear markings present on the drug, tablets, capsule, etc., if applicable. E, a clear image of the drug's NDC number or G10, global trade item number, serial number, lot number, and expiration date, if not otherwise captured and maintained in the pharmacy system. This was added from comments where some of the pharmacists are saying like, hey, when I checked, I also checked to make sure that the drugs are not expired or if the lot may be recalled. Or to correct the correct NDC. So we did feel that was necessary to add that in there. And we put in here at the back end, if not otherwise captured. So for example, if they have a barcode system that already captured the 2D barcode that captures that information in system, then they don't have to have that because it will automatically populate on the screen. Okay. Again, when we write these rules here, we were really thinking of as a pharmacist checking the physical product. What is it that I'm looking for, and how can we mimic that from technology perspective, and what we want to see to make sure the pharmacist feels comfortable in checking that virtually. Number 5, the board may waive or modify the requirements listed in the paragraph C4C of this rule if the electronic verification system can provide an alternative method that accurately captures information from the medication stock bottle and or container and a label and a drug that has been returned to stock. That one is a long one, but it goes back, same language, returned to stock here. Number 6, the system shall use stock images of the correct drug being dispensed, including markings if applicable. That is true. Even though the system that we have seen oftentimes already have the stock image, but we want to make sure it's a requirement so that way the pharmacist knows what it's supposed to look like. Okay. 7, images associated with the verification and dispensing of a prescription or order shall be retained in a secure and readily retrievable format and maintained for 1 year from the date of verification. As you can see, we actually struck out the part where it become patient's profile. I think oftentimes people forget, patient profile may be limited. It's really what we want to make sure that that there's a record time back to the patient. So as long as it is readily retrievable, that we can tie it back to the patient. Question comes up, that suffices that. Number 8, use of an electronic verification system shall be terminated if the system is not properly functioning. Prior to resuming the use of system, the pharmacy shall identify the root cause or causes of the malfunction and shall validate that system is properly functioning. The pharmacy shall maintain the documentation of root cause or causes of the malfunction for a period of 3 years in a readily retrievable format. Similar language to our APS systems and other record-keeping requirements. Number 9, the EVS shall be capable of clearly communicating that the pharmacist has verified the drug or device prior to distribution. So we want to make sure that as a technician, I know whether I can sell this drug or not. There needs to be a clear communication of that, whether pharmacists have done their verification. Number 10, prior to dispensing, the pharmacist shall review and authorize overrides performed by a pharmacy tech or pharmacy intern of any technological generated errors, warnings, alerts, or exceptions related to system functionality or verification accuracy. Documentation of the pharmacist's review and authorization must be captured using electronic positive ID and maintained for 3 years from date of review in a readily retrievable format. 11, a pharmacist shall not be required to conduct EPV or EVS. I think we probably need to put some consistent language there. If in the pharmacist's professional judgment, the system, personnel, or processes employed by the pharmacy present a danger to the health and safety of the patient. Similar language where we have the pharmacist make that decision when they check. Letter D, all electronic product verification shall be documented using an electronic form of positive ID in accordance with the rule. Letter E, no further manipulation of the prescription or order shall occur after the pharmacist's electronic verification is complete, other than applying the required container lid or seal. Okay, just include preparing a finished prescription medication order for mailing, delivery, or storage. So once the product is verified, we want to make sure that, you know, technicians are not opening it, recounting it, or relabeling it, because when that happens, they should go back to the pharmacist for verification. And there is exception we'll call out here in a little bit. In letter F, the section here is really about compounded products. So except as provided for in this paragraph, a pharmacist shall not conduct the electronic product verification of compounded drug preparations. One, all electronic product verification of a compounded drug preparation shall comply with the requirements of this rule. So this came about where people said, hey, if I'm trying to do product verification, electronic product verification, do I just need to comply with F, or do I need to comply with all the C's and others? So we just said, well, just be clear. So instead of copying the entire section, we just said that you need to comply with all that section.
So in regards to E, say you have a situation where you've verified it, but then the billing changes. You need to go back in, because a lot of times you can change the billing and it'll go through. You wouldn't have to verify it again.
Correct. No, the products are verified. It's no different than right now. If you know, what you require the pharmacist to verify on that product is what you, that process will not change. Yeah. But if they manipulate it, like, oh, let me open it, let me recount this, right? Or, you know, even if, oh, I dropped the tablet, it's on the floor. Once it's, there should not be any manipulation once the pharmacist check it. Okay. In F2, only components used for compound drug preparation may be verified by pharmacists using electronic verification system. And the reason why we have here is that we have discussed about allowing the final product, but then we will be not in compliance really under USP 797, because the USP compliance do require the not pharmacist, but somebody to check of a final product because of coring. Is there any turbidity? Is there any coring? Is there any discolor? Maybe one day the technology will be in place, or technology comes, we can certainly revisit that. But so for right now, only the components. And that's what we have seen is some of the institution requests. They have asked up when using barcode for components, but they still have a pharmacist in the back end just to make sure that there's no particles and turbidity there. Number 3, reconstituted drugs may be used or manipulated for compounding after the pharmacist completes electronic verification. This was added here because of letter E, where we say there's no further manipulation afterwards, but with reconstituted products, it has to be used or manipulated, especially like in the hood, after the pharmacist verifies a stock solution, for example. So we allow that here under compounding. F4. Completion of the compounding process and prior to release of or dispensation, the compounded drug preparation shall be visibly inspected by pharmacists and persons to determine whether physical appearance of the drug is as expected. So in this section here, it just says that they have to check the final product even after they check the component because of compliance with the USP here. And then letter G. This is a simple language change, but we require all pharmacy personnel utilizing electronic product verification to be trained and be competent in performing these duties, and to have a documented initial and annual assessment of that competency. We struck out the first language here because the question came about, what do they mean by assisting pharmacists in verification? So we just said, you know what, it's just easier. Anybody that's using the system, you're gonna have to provide the education and training for that. We did have some comments, as you'll see later on, about is it really necessary to have annual assessments to be done? Annual assessment with all technology changes, annual assessment can be done as very quickly. Are they using it? Are they not using it appropriately? So we are not saying what has to be in the annual assessment, but we do feel that more frequent assessment needs to be done, especially with some of these new technologies in place. Almost there. Letter H, Electronic verification systems shall be implemented and validated by an Ohio licensed pharmacist prior to initial use to ensure proper functioning. The system shall be revalidated by an Ohio licensed pharmacist in accordance with pharmacy policy and procedure at least once every 6 months. Because we're using this language very similar to when we do the automated pharmacy or automated dispensing system about barcode verification, we do want to make sure that the mapping of NEC bar and barcodes are done correctly. So I know this is on the 6 months, but again, with the new system, we can certainly revisit this in the future. But we do feel that it is necessary for that pharmacist just revalidation and to check that things are in order every 6 months. H1, proof of that compliance and validation, revalidation requirements shall be documented by an Ohio licensed pharmacist and maintained in a readily retrievable format for 3 years from the date of validation or revalidation. H2, the record shall document the positive ID of that pharmacist performing the required validations, the dates performed, and the results of the validation. Letter I, pharmacy using a electronic verification system as authorized by this rule shall maintain an ongoing and documented quality assurance system that monitors the performance of the electronic verification system to ensure proper and accurate functioning in accordance to the rule. Quality assurance system shall also include procedures for reporting reporting systems and malfunctions. So again, this is very similar to our APS, automated pharmacy system rule, where there is some type of QA conducted. Letter J, pharmacy utilizing the system pursuant to this rule shall maintain and implement written policies and procedures governing all aspects of the electronic verification activities. Such policies and procedures shall be maintained in a readily retrievable format and shall include the following but not limited to. So we want to make sure that there's documentation of staff training, competency assessments, the operation of the QA system, including reporting, investigating, and addressing error, system malfunctions, and other quality assurance issues, the validation and revalidation of the system technology to ensure appropriate or proper functioning, and 4, system maintenance, including any routine or preventive maintenance. Letter K, pharmacy using this system shall comply with all applicable record-keeping requirements under the other sections of the rules. And then page 26, lastly, we just struck out letter L because that's already covered elsewhere. I've also included the comments that we have received for this rule. I'm not going to go over all of them here because they're very similar. Most of the time, the people were concerned about, for example, how do we do errors and trying to error reduction accountability. We did take those comments and add the changes. For example, limiting the pharmacists where they had to be in the same locations as where this activity is conducting. We added the NDC numbers and the images, stock images as well. There was a comment that talks about we should make exceptions about having some provisions, protections for those who are vision impaired or vision correction needs. We defer those to federal laws because there's already ADA component to it. And also too, we have added there where the pharmacist can make the decision of whether that they can utilize EPS or the electronic product verification or not. Other QAs, we felt that there was a concern about putting some prohibition of quotas, that the corporate cannot use this as a product tracking or a product quota, how much they can verify. We feel that there is already rules regarding to quota in these minimum standard rules, as well as quality assurance here for tracking errors. We felt that was already covered. I think some other notable sections here, you can read it. The comments are in the rule packet. In the files in SharePoint. Again, probably some of them asking is annual assessments or competency assessments necessary? As I mentioned earlier, we feel that it is because it is new technology in place here. We can certainly take a look at that, or if that poses a problem, we can certainly take a look at that in the future wise. Let's see. I think for those that are against or opposed to the rule, as I mentioned, they felt that that this is a way to eliminate pharmacists, where technology is being used, and that the pharmacists are going to be reduced in number. and that it was a corporation trying to make more money by reducing the staff. We feel that by adding the requirement that the pharmacist, so one, we have to be understanding that we're not saying that there's no pharmacist verification. We still require pharmacist verification. This is not like an automated pharmacy dispensing where there is no verification and it's done in the front end. There is still pharmacist verification of this product. It's just the means of how it is going to be viewed, how the pharmacist is going to verify the product is done by technology advancements with images. And by also requiring that pharmacists have to be physically located there as well. That also adds another security of measure for patient safety. We did have one from mail order that they suggested to eliminate the pharmacists and just using by barcode without images. We felt that is a concern because again, if they wanted to use barcode, that would fall under the automated pharmacy system that they can do so. This is really a product verification by the pharmacist, and that we need to have images, right? As a pharmacist, if you're checking the product physically, you want to be able to see what you're checking. Okay, any questions with the electronic product verification rule? Not, then if I can ask you for a motion approval to file with CSI and JCAR.
It's written, but plus your verbal change of the B on page 21.
Yes.
Okay, so including what you verbally changed, is there a motion? Mr. Graham, for a second. Ms. Bittner. Any discussion? Those in favor? 6-0.
Okay, one more. Almost on the home stretch here. Are we good? Okay. The last thing that I have here for you to review, board members, is a rule related to metragenin-related compounds. So the information and all the comments is in your SharePoint folder under the rules. As you can see, we have received many comments regarding to metragenin and metragenin-related compounds. There are over 300 pages there. I would like to turn your attention to the comment response memo. This is a comment summary for you. And so in total, we had received and again, let me just refrain. This is only regarding to metragenin-related compounds. So the products, for example, that are 7-OH and MGMs and others. And so in total, as you can see here, we had a total of 16 comments from organizations and 88 comments from individuals here, even though there are over 300 pages of comments, as you can see. These comments specifically, out of the 16 of the organizational comment, there is one regarding to against natural kratom banned, and 25 of the individual. These comments specifically mention natural kratom in their comments here. So just want a reminder that this rule does not prohibit the possession or sale of natural kratom in the vegetation form. I've listed here the organizations that provided the comments, those who support and those who oppose, as you can see. And then the organizations for those are against the natural kratom ban. And there are 2 organizations requested clarification, and those comments are all in that packet here. So with those comments, I wanted to review some of the draft responses with you. That starts page 2 of the comment response memo. So we condensed the ones that we needed to address. So this is a comment from the Global Kratom Coalition. And as you can see here, the comments is to define synthetic kratom related compounds as alkaloids that are chemically synthesized or isolated and concentrated beyond levels occurring naturally in kratom leaf. And so our drafter comment response is that it's distinguishing between the synthetic and natural compounds was attempted during marijuana, such as the Delta 9 THC, that when hemp was first legalized, and it was difficult and to no avail. So when a fully synthesized product sits on a lab bench next to a natural or isolated natural product, those two products are nearly impossible to distinguish with that. So as you can see, as I mentioned further down, they also ask that we explicitly exclude kratom in its natural vegetation form. For example, natural kratom leaf products with naturally occurring alkaloid levels, including trace amounts or otherwise banned alkaloids. This rule explicitly explicitly excludes kratom in its natural vegetation state. We also later on, I will go through the rule itself, that we put in a little bit clarification on what vegetation form is. The commenter also asked that we align the rule text with the FDA commissioner's statements concerning natural kratom leaf in his July 29th, 2025 FDA and HHS press conference. And the governor stated the intent to accept kratom in its vegetation form. So again, this rule explicitly excludes kratom in its natural vegetation state. And also ask us to improve definitional precision to reduce enforcement ambiguity. The rule is being amended to provide examples of natural kratom product that are accepted under this rule, so which we'll go through here later. Some opposition comment. As you can see, Schedule 1 placement requires findings that a substance has high potential for abuse, no accepted medical utility, and a lack of accepted safety even under medical supervision. The rules do not demonstrate these findings using real-world population-level evidence. Instead, they rely on speculative, indirect, or incomplete reasoning, while disregarding the lived experiences of individuals who utilize kratom-derived products and the consequences of abruptly eliminating lawful access. Now, the board contends that the 8-factor analysis that was approved in January 2026 provides sufficient data to demonstrate that metrageny-related compounds have a high potential for abuse and that have no accepted medical use in the treatment in this state. Furthermore, in various preclinical studies, the 7-OH, a metrageny-related compound, demonstrates greater potency than classical opioids warranting control in Schedule 1. Commenter also said that many adults report they currently use kratom products to cope with pain or opioid withdrawal, which we have heard many times. And compare that with the thousands of deaths involving heroin or opioids. If these products are suddenly made illegal, some will turn back to illicit market for where fentanyl is widespread and odds of overdose are very high. We also, though, have heard comments from the board. Comments from clinicians also cite the danger of these compounds. For example, a clinician, and you will see that in the comments too provided from other clinicians and those who are in the clinical background, that Northeast Ohio commented that they have been admitting almost as many patients per week withdrawing from kratom and its analog as I am from fentanyl for at least the past year. So it is a growing trend. Clinicians are seeing those from those facilities providing SUD treatments. Lastly, critically, their use has shown to be enormous beneficial to many seeking to curb their addiction to deadly opioids. The commenter also said that these deadly opioids have destroyed the lives of countless Ohioans. A sweeping ban on the products that have verifiable benefits for recovering addicts is a mistake that would needlessly increase suffering for more people than can be counted. We provide a comment that the FDA has not reviewed any metrageny-related compounds for the safety and efficacy, nor have there been any clinical trials evaluating these synthetic compounds. And furthermore, the rule addresses the distribution of emerging compounds that are even more potent than 7-OH, including MGM-15. So those are the comments. I'll give you a couple moments here. We want to review the comments that are listed. I did not print them off because it's about 300 and some pages, so I'll spare the tree. Okay. All right, I'll move to propose the rule here. This is for filing with CSI and JCAR. You have seen this rule previously. where we are proposing the metrageny-related compounds to be classified as Schedule 1 controlled substance in 4729:9-1-01.1 rule. The changes we have made here, as you can see, we're proposing is number 4 in the bottom of the page, where we added that metragenine, except for a kratom in vegetation form, including natural kratom leaf and ground natural kratom leaf, and in compliance with the rule. So basically, we are making that exception that the natural, where we spelled out vegetation form. So it's okay. We're not banning the natural kratom form in the sense of natural kratom leaf and ground natural kratom leaf. So again, the amendment here is to add some clarity around what is considered vegetative in this rule based on the comment. So thus the phrase including natural kratom leaf and ground natural kratom leaf is being proposed to add to this rule.
Second.
Question, Mr. President. To help me understand, so I understand the natural form, the leaf. But how are we dealing with the vegetative form? Because how is that defined?
The vegetative form here is it's including the natural.
It's included?
Yes, the vegetation form, including natural kratom leaf and ground natural kratom leaf. So if it's, you have a leaf product, or if you ground that leaf product up into.
Because I know there were some questions about what does the term vegetation.
Correct, yes, and that's why we provided clarification of what we define as vegetation, vegetation form here.
Some more caffeine, but.
I talked fast.
Any more discussion? Those in favor? 6-0.
That is it, yes, like, no more papers.
Back at 1.
On show 1.
Alright.
Draw for it.
Is that it?
Dude, I guess so. Like, I'm so confused.
I am too.
Like, they're like, we're not banning the natural form, and then she's like, we're proposing to add the like, I have no idea what just happened. I have no idea.
I don't either. Because they said that they're not going to ban in the natural form in its vegetative state, which is the leaf and the ground up leaf. I don't know if they're talking about banning the metragenine extracts.
I don't know, but I'm glad the AKA thing is tonight.
I know. Make sure y'all attend the AKA webinar tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, because they're like reading comments and they're like, we're not proposing natural kratom in its vegetative state. So, and then they, I guess that's why all of our comments didn't show up, because they were picking which ones to call out.
Well,
I guess.
wasn't there 2 different survey monkey things, like one for the 7OH and one for the kratom? I honestly don't remember. But I'm pretty sure that's why all of our comments didn't show up on this one, because this was about banning 7OH.
Sorry, I'm just reading those comments. Tracks, but I don't know. I think. Yeah, well, I say, fuck, I don't know. That was just like such a brain. I mean,
I don't know, Mike. Make sure y'all attend the hearing tonight, the webinar, so that y'all can ask these questions.
yeah. tonight at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And we will be live streaming it too.
Yeah, we'll definitely be live streaming it. I honestly I cannot definitively say that this is the last hearing.
Yeah,
So,
I
mean,
wouldn't think so.
You Ohioans can take like a short breather right now, but I can't say this is one and done.
Man, what in the world?
He's supposed to give an Iowa update.
Well, I just wanted to briefly, before we ended, just like say we're not really sure what's going on either. So we can all be kind of confused together till tonight. But I
Yeah.
do think it was a good thing. I do think it was a good thing for natural leaf.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So I'm going to say it's good for natural leaf for now. But, who knows what the future could hold. We all know how that goes. But anyway, y'all don't forget, again, the AK webinars tonight, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And we'll see y'all there.
We will live stream it. If you guys click the little notification bell, hopefully you'll get a notification when we go live.
Yeah,
But
Facebook sucks because I don't get the notifications till like 24 hours later. So definitely click the little notification bell on if you're watching on YouTube. Yeah,
man, I go through so many hearings and stuff that I can't keep up. So if I remember correctly, there was 2 Survey Monkey things that they had. And one was for the 7OH and one was for the Leaf Kratom.
yeah.
Don't quote me on that because I don't know. It's so hard for me to keep up.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yawn right in the microphone. Yeah, I think y'all can breathe for now.
Yeah, temporary breath.
God, that was just so back and fucking forth, dude. I'm just like, what? At first, I was like, are they only going to do this document change? What a waste of fucking time.
Oh, I wanted to say the document change that they did, they switched out a hyperlink and included a 2018 post
Mhm.
or blog or whatever from the former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb.
Yeah. And it's a bullshit. It's like 2018's bullshit.
No, this hearing was, in the agenda, this hearing was titled Metragenine Related Compounds.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Y'all join the webinar tonight.
Yeah. Everybody, we'll see y'all tonight and y'all have a good rest of your day. But yeah, I think y'all are cool for now.
For now.
For now. All right.